call up to say something is Toussaint. This brother right here. I've seen him out there. Seen him out there pushing.
I want to thank Gabe and Tonia for all the consistent work that they've done in the streets.
Yeah.
You can't go to a march for justice without seeing Gabe or Tonia holding it down and carrying the flag and carrying the names and carrying the posters and carrying the banners. And they talk about trauma. When you come out here, that's reignited every time. And that's not somebody anybody asked for. Nobody asked for that at all. And there's several things to speak about on Billy Hughes. And one is the absolute disgusting poetry that this country was taken by white colonialists, white marauders, white murderers, white men, and they took it from the indigenous people that were here.
Yeah.
And now they come back and they justify the killing of an indigenous person over 500 years later. If that doesn't tell you what this country is about, I don't know what does. If that doesn't tell you about the systems in place, I don't know what does. If that doesn't tell you about the treatment of indigenous people, I do not know what does. The second thing is when you Google these names, when you Google Marcus Golden, when you Google Hardell Sherrill, when you Google Billy Hughes, all you ever see is the media adding words into the titles that dehumanize, that animalize these brown and black bodies. They use the word justified in the title on NPR News. If that was a white man off of Summit Avenue that came stepping out of his doorstep,
Talk to us.
you better believe there would be an absolute pitchfork parade put up for that man. If Garrison Keillor were gunned down in his $1 million mansion, they would take to the streets and chant, defund the police, arraign these murderers, take them down. But because it was a brown indigenous man, nobody comes to any defense. White people don't bat an eyelash. They justify it with the use of justified. Your media is lying to you. You need to question it. Your history books are lying to you. You need to question it. And it's come to the point that you are lying to yourself. You need to question yourself. A through line that I've heard throughout this is that Rissa said, these people that are unstable. You talk about Kobe Heisler, and you talk about Billy Hughes, and you talk about Phil Quinn. And that term unstable is really funny. And coming from a paraprofessional background working with people in special ed, we always talk about, we gotta assimilate them to their classroom, which is a microcosm of what these police officers are out here to do. And that's assimilate brown and black folks to white culture. That's to assimilate us to be the subservient class of people. That's to assimilate us to being okay with being dehumanized. There's nothing unstable about Billy Hughes. There's nothing unstable about Kobe Heisler. There's nothing unstable about Phil Quinn. There is something inherently unstable about the police and law enforcement that drive these streets.
Come on.
There is something inherently unstable about the zoos that they throw black and brown bodies in and call them prisons.
Yeah.
There's something inherently unstable about white people failing upward like Dr. Todd Leonard that allow the murder and willful negligence of brown and black bodies behind bars. There is something inherently unstable about the news that will report somebody like Billy Hughes as justified of being killed. Your news is lying to you. These white folks are lying to you, and they're justifying the dehumanization of people like Billy Hughes that should still be alive today. They didn't clean up their mess mess after Isaac Aiden. You can still see the blood. They didn't clean up their mess after Billy Hughes. You can still see the bullet holes. And they sure as hell didn't clean up any of the colonial mess, because they're still out here marching as one of the better funded, taxpayer-funded gangs of this country, known as the police. And I can't speak a lot on what to do with civic engagement. I used to work for PBS, Twin Cities Public Television, and I still can't tell you what civic engagement is, because I'm sure as shit they can't tell you what it is either.
Yeah.
They want to ask you, would state lines still exist if we made America from scratch today? They want to ask you, would 12-year-olds be able to vote if we made America from scratch today? I worked on that show for a year. And I hope somebody's recording this. I don't want you to send this to me later, because I'm telling this to everybody at TPT and PBS. You wanted to start a show called America from Scratch. And not once did you ever think to have an episode about indigenous people. I hate losing it at these things, but I just get overtaken. And this is the absolute lie and through line that they run every time. If you're working at TPT or PBS, I hope you're listening to this loud and clear, because your documentaries are old. Your lies are overt. The truth is out. You need to be defunded as well as the police, because not only are you dangerous to brown and black bodies, you are as dangerous as the cops. The cops seek to kill us. You seek to change our stories. The story of Billy Hughes has not been told correctly on any major media outlet. And my challenge to you today is, because I don't know a lot about civic engagement, but voting and maybe showing up at a lot of these and speaking truth. But my challenge to you today is to figure out what the story is of Billy Hughes, to find out who this man was, and to decommit the lies and the atrocities and the disgusting stories that have been told to you by media about Billy Hughes. You deserve the truth. Billy Hughes deserves his story to be heard. Billy Hughes deserves his story to be heard. The youth of St. Paul deserve to know the story of Billy Hughes. There should be a statue for Billy Hughes on the corner of Lexington and any major street. Billy Hughes' story is harrowing. It is informational. It is historically paramount. Because if you don't understand the story of Billy Hughes, then you are lying to yourself about this country. And if you're lying to yourself about this country, you're willingly, tacitly being complicit with having this happen again. And my challenge to TPT, PBS, any other so-called public media outlet, my challenge is for them to tell the right story. Stop selling your white constituents lies to make them feel comfortable. This story makes your skin crawl. Somebody stepped out of a house and was shot 21 times. You tell me who's unstable.
Thank you.